is we're in the 21st century. Our children are different from us. They're growing up with so much influence. It's a real struggle for them to stand. Not just by their own choices, but just the environment that they're in. So they need a lot more engagement and support from us. We have to learn how to communicate with them. We must find how to endear ourselves to them such that we're their first line of communication. Otherwise, they would share their fears with their friends and they would get the wrong counsel. So we need to engage. So you're right in talking about communicating. There's also a moment to chastise a child. So your husband is right in many ways, but we must decide what is appropriate at what time, and each child is different. I have 3 sons, they're 3 nations. I would say women run multi-nations. Yes. So you must run 4 nations in your house. Well, by the time you count your husband, it becomes 5 nations. You know, so it's really for us to try and understand the nature of each child. Find the way of communicating with each child, because it's different. The way to get through to one, don't use the same rule for all our children. And honestly, I don't know that we can do it without praying. Because we really need divine help for this time and season. We have to be very discerning, and women are better at that because we have greater intuition. So you must be able to sense things before they happen, and you must see a trend that you can nip in the bud as much as you want to love. But also as women, we mustn't overlove in a way that they take advantage of it. Now, what is also important for us is, as husband and wife, we must act like a team with the children. Otherwise, they'll play us.
Okay. Easy.
So we need to play both.
So this is so easy because you just moved to where I was headed, like the faith-based and the spiritual aspect of the marriage at the home. What do you think, in the sense that, because I know you're a very faith and very spiritual person, in terms of everything that you've done, your decisions is everything, it's in the hedged in the word. So what do you think about a situation where, let's say a parent or parents are pastors, and then the kids are dealing with certain things, even though they grew up in the word, and they feel the fear of certain things happening with them in terms of maturing, in terms of adolescence, to have those conversations, like sexuality, to have those conversations with you as with the pastor parents. And then most times you find out that some kids that grew up in that aspect, when they're out or in the school or universities, they act out differently because they just feel like, oh, I've been caged. Or so what kind of relationship would you advise parents to create a balance where children can make every decision, no matter what comes out them in terms of peer pressure, that they stand in their decisions to say, these are my family values?
You know, the thing, I'm a pastor and I'm a parent. But the reality is, your pastoral calling is on one side. Your parenting assignment is on another side. And we can't afford to mix them up. We mustn't abandon our responsibility as a parent because of our calling as a pastor. 2, the challenge is people tend to judge the children of pastors harshly. Everybody has a view, especially when he's a church pastor, you know, a lead pastor in a church or something. They are accountable to everybody before they make one move. The mistakes normal children can make that parents will walk through with them, the children of a pastor don't have that. So the pressure is a lot. And don't forget, they are still children. And living under that kind of pressure and everybody having an opinion about their life is not healthy for any child. So as parents who are in that position, we have the responsibility to protect our children. We must be able to build the same kind of relationship we were talking about with them in a way that they can, you know, build their own faith for themselves. You can't hold my children at the level of my faith because they are walking their own journey and they're going to be accountable for it. And if the parents don't speak up to defend their children, others will take advantage of that. You know, so we must protect our children and find how to to balance
But
it.
I have seen this whereby when I travel, when I was in Nigeria, I saw the pastor. Then I traveled abroad and I saw the kids, and they are two different worlds. The kids are being very Americanish, dressed very like normal, and I'm thinking, are you sure you're Pastor XYZ's child? In my mind, I didn't say it out. And that's one of the confusion church members always have, where the kind of standards you force us to adhere to, especially when we're in Nigeria. When we see your kids don't have to, and that there's always that issue. So as a pastor, how have you do you ever have to maneuver around this?
Look, if children are children, and they will express themselves depending on the generation that they're in. And as parents, we have to find how to deal with our own children in their way. Like I said, it takes children walk through their own journey of faith. And if you don't allow them some sense of liberty and self-expression until they own their faith and they make their own decisions, all you will have is resentment. And their children will totally cut off from their parents over time, just because they do not have, they feel caged. So there is a thin line that you need to walk through, and parents must be, I think as pastors that are parents, we must be open to talk about even our own challenges. We should stop acting like we're perfect or that our children are perfect. Because they're not.